Have you ever wondered why, despite having more tools, more life hacks, and more access to information than any generation in human history, you feel completely overwhelmed? The world doesn't owe you peace. Stop waiting. Start reclaiming it. In this video, we reveal the hidden mechanics of your own mind. If you click away, you resign yourself to another year of burnout. You consign yourself to reacting to everyone else's emergencies and feeling like a passenger in your own life. But if you stay, you will learn the exact psychological and stoic frameworks required to build an impenetrable fortress of focus. You are not your anxiety. You are the observer. Welcome to the blueprint for the elite mind. This is how to calm your mind. Chapter 1. Why you are wired for chaos. The first step to conquering the noise is understanding that your brain is not broken. It is simply functioning on outdated hardware. It is easy to feel lost when your pulse races at the ping of an email, or when a delayed text message triggers a spiral of catastrophic thinking. You think you are weak. You think you lack discipline. But here's the truth. Your anxiety is not a character flaw. It is a biological feature. Your brain, specifically the amygdala, evolved to keep you alive on the savannah. It was designed to scan the horizon for predators. It was wired for survival, not for serenity. When a physical threat approached, that spike of cortisol saved your life. However, the modern world has replaced the predator with artificial stressors. The relentless notifications, the curated highlight reels of your peers, the looming deadlines. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a physical threat and a psychological one. Think about it. You are running a 21st century lifestyle on software built for hunter-gatherers. No wonder you are exhausted. Most people never realize that society profits off this panic. The system wants you reactive. A reactive mind is a compliant consumer. A frantic mind buys solutions it doesn't need. Consider the case of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. He ruled the known world, faced plagues, betrayals, and endless wars. Yet, his private writings are a masterclass in stillness. Why? Because he understood a fundamental principle of human psychology before modern neuroscience even existed. He realized that you cannot control the external world. You can only control your internal response. The key is separation. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are the observer. When you fuse with your anxiety, it controls you. When you step back and observe it, when you recognize it as just a chemical response in the brain, you strip away its power. Observe the chaos. Do not participate in it, but simply observing is not enough. You must understand what is fueling this chemical fire in the first place. You are not just dealing with ancient biology. You are fighting a modern war for your attention. And right now, you are losing. You are bleeding out your most valuable resource, one scroll at a time. This leads us to the invisible thief in your pocket, the mechanism that is actively bankrupting your potential. Chapter 2. The Dopamine Debt. Have you ever felt the frustration of sitting down to do deep, meaningful work, only to find yourself inexplicably drawn to your phone 5 minutes later? You didn't consciously decide to stop working. Your hand just moved. Society tells you this is a lack of willpower. Society tells you to just try harder. But the truth is, you are fighting billions of dollars of engineering designed to exploit your neurobiology. Your brain operates on a currency called dopamine. It is the molecule of motivation, the neurochemical that drives you to seek reward. In the natural world, dopamine is hard to come by. You had to hunt, forage, or build to get a hit. On the other hand, the modern average person has a slot machine in their pocket. Every like, every swipe, every infinite scroll delivers a cheap, unearned spike of dopamine. You are flooding your receptors with synthetic rewards. Over time, your baseline drops. The natural, steady dopamine required for long-term ambition, for building a business, mastering a skill, or achieving true alignment feels flat and boring. You are living in a state of dopamine debt. For example, think of your attention as a laser beam. When focused, it can cut through steel, but your daily habits act as a prism, scattering that light into 1,000 useless directions. You spend your day consuming the accomplishments of others instead of constructing your own. Stop watching. Start building. The world doesn't owe you anything. Stop waiting. Start acting. You cannot calm your mind if you are constantly feeding it high-octane garbage. You cannot achieve elite performance while running on the fuel of the average consumer. The key is voluntary deprivation. You must become ruthless with what you allow into your mental space. The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned us 2,000 years ago, people are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. You are giving away your cognitive territory for free. To reclaim your focus, you must starve the distractions. You must endure the temporary discomfort of boredom to reset your neurological baseline. Reclaim your time. Reclaim your mind. Chapter 3, The Illusion of Hustle. Have you ever felt the frustration of working 14-hour days, only to look at your life and realize you haven't actually moved forward? You are constantly in motion. You are checking emails at midnight. You are sacrificing sleep for the grind. Society tells you that exhaustion is a badge of honor. They tell you to hustle while your competition sleeps. Work until you drop. But here's the truth. Hustle culture is a trap designed to keep you on the hamster wheel. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of how high performance actually works. You are confusing movement with progress. Stop spinning. Start executing. When you operate in a state of chronic stress, you are physically damaging your biological hardware. Prolonged exposure to cortisol, the stress hormone, literally shrinks your prefrontal cortex. That is the part of your brain responsible for executive function, logic, and long-term planning. You are willingly impairing your ability to make elite decisions just so you can feel busy. Think about it. You are trying to win a Formula One race by driving in first gear with the parking brake on. The engine is screaming, but you are barely moving. On the other hand, the top 1% understand that true productivity requires periods of profound rest. The elite do not just work hard, they recover ruthlessly. They know that burnout is not a sign of dedication. It is a sign of poor energy management. For example, muscle is not built while you are lifting weights in the gym. The lifting simply creates the micro tears. The muscle is built while you sleep, when your body is in deep recovery. Your mind operates on the exact same biological principle. The key is strategic exertion. You are not a machine. You are a biological organism. You must learn to detach from the false idol of endless labor. You must embrace the power of stepping away. When you give your brain the space to breathe, your subconscious mind goes to work, synthesizing information and solving the complex problems that your anxious, conscious mind could not crack. But to step away effectively, you need a psychological tether. You need something solid to hold on to when the modern world tries to drag you back into the chaos of the grind. This leads us to the ultimate defense mechanism, the philosophy of the ancients, weaponized for the modern era. Chapter 4. Reclaiming your cognitive territory. Imagine a version of you who remains entirely unfazed while everything around your career or personal life seems to collapse. A version of you who looks at a crisis and sees only data. It's easy to feel lost when your peace of mind is tied to the stock market, your manager's mood, or the erratic behavior of other people. You have willingly handed the remote control of your emotions to strangers. However, true power is never external. True power is absolute sovereignty over your own mind. Consider the case of Epictetus. He was born a slave. He had a crippled leg. He owned absolutely nothing. Yet he became one of the most powerful and influential minds in the Roman Empire. Why? Because he mastered the dichotomy of control. He realized a ruthless, undeniable fact of existence. There are things up to us and things not up to us. Everything outside your own choices, actions, and judgments is completely out of your hands. Worrying about the uncontrollable is a mathematical waste of your cognitive energy. Stop reacting. Start responding. When you attach your self-worth to external outcomes, you become a hostage to fortune. When you anchor your self-worth to your internal standards, you become untouchable. The key is separating the event from your judgment of the event. The traffic jam didn't make you angry. Your judgment that the traffic is ruining your morning made you angry. The failed project didn't destroy your confidence. Your judgment that failure means I am an imposter destroyed your confidence. You are the observer. You are the architect. You are the anchor. Events have no inherent emotional charge. You assign the emotion. And because you assign it, you have the power to revoke it. Claim your territory. Defend your mind against the invasion of useless opinions and uncontrollable circumstances. But knowing this logically is very different from hardwiring it into your nervous system. To truly embody this stoic invulnerability, you cannot just read about it. You must physically change the structure of your brain. You must learn to mold your neural pathways like clay to guarantee your focus never breaks. Chapter 5. Rewiring the brain for ruthless focus. Have you ever wondered why trying to just focus feels physically painful? You sit down, block out the noise, and your brain screams for a distraction. It's easy to feel lost when your own mind fights you every time you try to build something meaningful. You assume you are simply broken. You assume you lack the DNA for high-level execution. But here's the truth. You have literally trained your brain to be distracted. Every time you switch tabs, every time you checked your phone mid-sentence, you reinforced a neural pathway. You carved a deep groove of chaos into your gray matter. Think about it. Your brain is a highly efficient biological machine. It optimizes for whatever you do most often. If you practice distraction, you become a world-class expert at being distracted. You literally wrap those chaotic neural pathways in a conductive material called myelin, making distraction your default high-speed instinct. However, this exact same biological mechanism is your ultimate weapon. It is called neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a rigid, fixed computer. It is a living, adaptable organism. You can physically change the structure of your brain by changing what you pay attention to. Consider the case of London taxi drivers. They must memorize thousands of complex, winding streets. As a result of this intense spatial navigation, the memory center of their brains, the hippocampus, physically grows larger. They molded their biology through sheer, repetitive discipline. You can do the exact same thing with your attention span. On the other hand, the average person expects to have elite focus on demand without ever putting in the mental reps. They expect absolute mental power without the friction. The key is deliberate resistance. You have to endure the burn of cognitive friction. Stop hoping for focus. Start engineering it. When you sit down to work and that familiar panic sets in, that desperate itch to check your feed, do not move. That discomfort is not a signal to stop. That discomfort is the feeling of weakness leaving your brain. That is the exact moment neuroplasticity is happening. By choosing to stay locked in for just 5 more minutes, you are bridging new synapses. You are forging the iron resilience of a true warrior. You are taking back your neurological real estate. You are the architect of your mind. Build a fortress. But rewiring your biology requires an environment that supports it. You cannot forge steel in a lukewarm oven. You must manipulate your physical space to guarantee your psychological victory. This leads us to the tactical execution of focus, the brutal, necessary shift away from the digital noise. Chapter 6. The Analog Advantage. Imagine a version of you who wakes up and doesn't look at a screen for the first 2 hours of the day. A version of you who sits in silence, planning the conquest of the day with nothing but pen and paper. You feel an immediate, profound sense of control. The panic is gone. The noise is dead. Society tells you that you must be connected 24/7 to succeed. They tell you that speed is everything. But here's the truth. Speed without direction is just a faster way to hit a wall. To perform a true, honest autopsy on your failures, financial, personal, or professional, you must disconnect from the machine. You cannot diagnose the disease while you are still injecting the poison. Your digital tools are not neutral. They are heavily weaponized against your attention. For example, when you write your goals on a laptop, a single click separates your ambition from endless, numbing entertainment. Your subconscious knows the escape hatch is right there, waiting to rescue you from the hard work of deep thinking. On the other hand, the analog environment is a closed system. A physical notebook does not send push notifications. It does not track your data. It demands raw, unfiltered input. It forces you to confront your own thoughts, your own anxieties, and your own brilliance without a digital safety net. The key is environmental design. If you rely on raw willpower to ignore your phone while it sits on your desk, you have already lost. Willpower is a finite resource. Environment is a constant reality. Remove the option. Starve the distraction. When you switch to analog tools for your most critical deep work, brainstorming, journaling, outlining the master plan, you slow down your cognition. You force your brain to process information at the speed of human thought, not algorithmic frenzy. You move from a state of frantic reaction to a state of deliberate creation. You begin to operate by the true laws of power, moving in silence, controlling your environment, and dictating your own terms. Disconnect to connect. Unplug to execute. However, simply putting your phone in another room is only half the battle. You can sit in an empty, quiet room with a leather notebook and still be tortured by the chaos inside your own head. You can isolate yourself from the external world, but you cannot hide from an internal lack of purpose. To truly silence the internal noise, you must bridge the gap between what you do and who you actually are. You must find the invisible thread that connects your daily actions to your ultimate potential. This leads us to the deepest layer of the elite mind, the final frontier of true calm. Chapter 7. Alignment. Have you ever wondered why you can crush a 12-hour workday, hit all your metrics, and still feel completely hollow at the end of it? You did what was required. You secured the bag. You followed the exact blueprint society told you would bring peace and satisfaction. It's easy to feel lost when your success feels exactly like a failure. You assume you just need to work harder, or perhaps take a vacation. But here's the truth. You are suffering from a chronic, unseen misalignment of your core identity. Your anxiety is not a panic disorder. It is a built-in biological alarm system screaming that your daily actions betray your actual values. In modern psychology, this is called cognitive dissonance. It is the intense mental friction that occurs when your deeply held beliefs do not match your outward behavior. Think about it. You value ultimate freedom, but you built a career that requires your constant, tethered attention to a corporate hierarchy. You value mastery, but you spend your hours doing shallow, repetitive tasks just to keep the lights on. Your brain is incredibly highly evolved. It knows when you are lying to yourself. That low-level hum of anxiety, that tightness in your chest, that is the sound of your subconscious keeping score. Every time you say yes to an obligation you despise, you fracture your identity. Every time you compromise your boundaries, you accumulate psychological debt. This debt does not just vanish. It manifests as insomnia, brain fog, and a racing heart. On the other hand, the elite do not compartmentalize their lives. They do not have a work self and a weekend self. They operate with singular, brutal alignment. For example, consider the mindset of a true warrior. A warrior does not put on bravery like a jacket only when the battle begins. The training, the diet, the mindset, the rest, it is an unbroken chain of alignment. When every single action serves a central, undeniable purpose, hesitation vanishes, anxiety evaporates. You no longer have to guess what to do next. The key is ruthless elimination. You must perform a deep audit of your life and cut out every obligation, relationship, and habit that contradicts your ultimate mission. Stop compromising. Start auditing. When you align your daily execution with your internal compass, you stop fighting yourself. You unlock a well of energy that was previously wasted on internal conflict. This leads us to the final evolution. When the noise is gone, the distractions are starved, and the actions are perfectly aligned. Who exactly is left to steer the ship? Chapter 8. Cultivating a mind built for mastery. Imagine a version of you who does not need applause to feel validated. A version of you who executes flawlessly in total silence, completely unbothered by criticism and utterly unmoved by praise. Society tells you that you must build a personal brand. They tell you to shout your achievements from the digital rooftops, demand recognition, and make sure everyone knows exactly how hard you are hustling. However, the loudest person in the room is always the weakest. The loudest mind is always the most fragile. When you are obsessed with how you are perceived, you hyperactivate the default mode network in your brain, the neurological region responsible for ego, self-reflection, and rumination. It is the biological home of your deepest insecurities. As long as this network dominates your waking hours, your mind will never experience true calm. But here's the truth. True power operates entirely in the shadows. The ultimate flex is not being known. It is being undeniably, ruthlessly competent. Consider the case of the Stoic masters. They viewed the ego as a fatal disease. They understood that the exact moment you believe your own hype, you stop learning. You stop observing. You become rigid, and rigid things shatter under pressure. To achieve the pinnacle of cognitive performance, you must silence the ego. In neuroscience, this is the pursuit of the flow state. When you are fully immersed in deep, meaningful work, your prefrontal cortex temporarily downregulates. Your inner critic goes offline. Time distorts. Anxiety ceases to exist. You are no longer a person worrying about the future. You become purely the action itself. The key is dissolving the self. You cannot achieve this elite state of flow if you are constantly monitoring your own performance to see how it looks to the outside world. Stop performing. Start mastering. To cultivate a mind built for mastery, you must practice the discipline of invisibility. Do the work without telling anyone. Build the empire without broadcasting the blueprint. Let the results make the terrifying noise. You are the silent master. You are the immovable object. When you master this internal silence, you master the game. You transcend the desperate need for external validation, and in doing so, you become psychologically bulletproof. Conclusion: we have deconstructed the architecture of your anxiety. We have starved the digital distractions, rewired the neural pathways of your brain, and forged a mindset rooted in absolute, unflinching alignment. It is easy to feel lost when you first step out of the matrix of modern chaos. The sudden silence will feel deafening. The lack of cheap dopamine will physically feel like withdrawal. Your brain will beg you to return to the comfort of the noise. But here's the truth. That discomfort is the exact price of admission to the top 1%. You now possess the psychological blueprints and the Stoic frameworks to build an impenetrable fortress of focus. The average person will consume this information, nod their head, and immediately go back to scrolling. They will remain anxious, exhausted passengers in their own lives. You have a choice. You can return to the chaos. You can continue to let society, algorithms, and the opinions of strangers dictate your focus, your energy, and your emotional baseline. However, if you are ready to separate yourself from the herd, the path is brutally clear. Apply these laws of mental power. Observe your thoughts without attachment. Defend your cognitive territory. Align your daily actions with your deepest unspoken ambition. Do the work in total silence. We invite you to join the Stoic few, the ones who do not react, but command, the ones who do not panic, but execute. Stop wishing for an easier life. Start building a stronger mind. If you found the clarity you were looking for, subscribe and join the ranks of the elite. We are building an army of focused, unshakable minds. Remember, a calm mind is not a gift. It is a daily conquest. Success is not a destination. It is a discipline.